Rising Colony. Hello, everybody. So, I was getting ready for bed. I got the kids down, put them to bed, bathed up. They had a great time over there at Auntie's house today. And I was scrolling on Twitter, as I do so often. And something came across my timeline that could not possibly wait. Since I have created this BuneeBrief, usually I like to start off as a blank slate. I have a few talking points that I go through, and then we both together watch the video, take notes on it, and see exactly what's going on. This time I have taken a different approach because I couldn't believe what I was seeing, so I had to jump ahead of the gun just a bit, and I'll show you what I mean in a moment. And just look to see if it's accurate, because like I said, I created this platform to inform everybody of the real and the fake. A lot of times there's information that's put out that's not 100% accurate. Maybe there's like a little drop of truth in there, but maybe it's been exaggerated, and that's nobody's fault, neither here nor there. But I created this platform so me and my audience can understand what's going on. Now, what just transpired on the 9th of October of 2025, I thought would be an illegal action. I haven't went so far as to see if it is, but I have looked into it to see if it's actually accurate, and it is, unfortunately. So we're going to watch the video together, and then we are going to discuss what's going on, because now at this point it has been a few days since this has occurred. It's the 11th. This came about on the 9th. So that was 2 days ago, and I'm just hearing about it, which means that not a lot of people are talking about it, because if a lot of people was talking about it, I would have been heard about it, honey. I follow all of the people that break the news, this that did this, they did that, this they did that. I haven't heard a whisper of this until today, and it was coming from somebody that does usually post about this kind of thing. So let's go ahead and get started, because like I said, I was getting ready to go to bed, but this can't wait, and I don't want this to turn into one of my 3-4 hour sessions. I do have to wake up in the morning, but it cannot be untalked about anymore. Not by me, not that I've discovered it. We need to talk about this. Okay, let's go. Let's get this party started.
They just tried to sneak a bill through Congress after announcing they were on recess. And you heard me right. The House stood in front of America and said, "See ya after summer," then tiptoed back in behind a locked door to put H.R. 1319 on the floor to pass it today. And that's a bill that redefines who counts as an employee. And I don't have to tell you guys what that means, you know. But that does mean fewer protections, no benefits, no accountability for corporations, no healthcare obligations, no union power, no tax withdrawal for the future benefits of Social Security. And they passed it under suspension of the rules while we weren't looking. But Gen X, you were built for this kind of betrayal. You don't need a permission slip to pay attention. You don't fall for unity slip.
Okay, so that's pretty much all of the video that references what I'm referring to. And when I heard that, I was like, it has to be exaggerated, right? Like, there's no way that they would say, hey, we're gonna have the government shut down, and we're gonna close the floor. Which closing the floor means they literally aren't gonna have any bills put on the floor or anything. Everything is shut down. You turn out the lights, and then turn around and sneak through the back door and turn the lights back on so you could do your own little thing. That, to me personally, as far as a government entity is involved, sounds illegal. This isn't a company that I'm talking about. This isn't Apple. And Apple made an announcement to all of its employees and said, hey, everybody go home. We're going to shut down Apple Industries for a second here, and then go in and like have a meeting in Apple. This is a government. This is these people are in charge of our lives. So something like this happening should sound like to me personally, it sounds so far-fetched. Like, it sounds like a movie. Like, no, no, Like, I know for a fact the government has done some trifling things. Our government is not right. But something like this, we're going to find out exactly what it is. What did they try to pass? How is this legal? And if it's not legal, who should be doing what about it? And who was the exact people that attempted to do this? Because I'm getting Congress, congressional, like I'm not getting names, and I like detail. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and get started on what's going on here. Because no, 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 no. Okay. So I have went ahead, like I said previously, and seen if this is actually true, right? So my first question, very first one, you can see I'm scrolling. There's nothing to scroll through. I literally just said, did Congress try to pass a bill 10/9/25, which was just 2 days ago, right? After the government shut down. Yes, on October 9th of 2025, the U.S. Senate, and in parentheses it says part of the Congress, we're going to figure out what part this was. Because this part can't be trusted. Let's just be blatantly honest here. Whatever part did this is an untrustworthy part, because you don't sit up here and tell me that you're going to shut down the floor and then turn around and sneak in, no announcement, nothing, and be like, hey, let's try to get this thing going, guys. Okay. Attempted to is very interesting, because they did say that in that video. If we can go back, we can go back. 1 second. I got it on another page. We're gonna go back here. She said passed.
Then tiptoed back in behind a locked door to put H.R. 1319 on the floor to pass it today. And that's a bill that redefines who counts.
Okay, she said to pass it. So there's a difference. Okay, perfect. So we don't know if it's passed yet, but we're gonna all find out together and see what the heck is happening here. Okay, so attempted to advance multiple bills. Oh my goodness, I thought she said one. Okay, so this is exactly why we looked this stuff up. Okay, so we're gonna get to the nitty gritty here. Multiple bills related to continuing appropriations for fiscal year 2026. So next year, fiscal year next year, right? The Senate held votes on cloture motions to proceed H.R. 5371, a bill making continuing appropriations, excuse me, and extensions for fiscal year 2026, and S 2882, a bill making continuing appropriations for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026. Both cloture motions failed, with the votes 54, 45, and 47-50, respectively. Several amendments were proposed and voted on, including SA 3853, which failed 10-88, and SA 3863 and SA 3872, which failed 39-59. The Senate also passed Res 448, designating October 1st, 2025, and as Energy Efficiency Day by unanimous consent. There is no record of floor activity or votes in the House of Representatives on that day, suggesting it may not have been in session. Now, given that I am an average normal person, I don't know what that last part means. We're going to find out together. Because in session sounds like an activity, right? Like them saying there is no record. First of all, there should always be a record when there's a vote passed. So suggesting it may have not been in session. So that means that the floor is still closed. That's what my assumption is. We're going to find out exactly what that means. So the next thing that I did when I found this out was see if they actually said they were going to shut down. Because after I found out that they passed the bill or attempted to do so, they were both failed or whatever, I was like, okay, well, maybe possibly they said that they weren't gonna like actually shut down on the floor. Maybe that's an exaggeration, right? Because me, my personal self, I'm always like giving person the benefit of the doubt. I don't know why. That's a flaw in me. Okay, I got problems, but I'm always just like, hey, there could be a bright side, right? There could be, maybe there's a, could be a something. Ha 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 ha. So I said, did Congress say that I meant that I was typing. Did Congress say at the government, I meant that the government shut down, they are closing the floor, and there will be no voting? Because when you close the floor, there's no votes. There, you just close everything down, shut the lights out, right? That's what I asked. It's all jump. You can see I messed up the typing, but obviously they got what I was saying, because it says congressional leadership has confirmed that during the ongoing government shutdown, the House of Representatives is keeping the floor closed for voting, and all scheduled House votes for the upcoming week have been canceled. House Speaker Mike Johnson stated that the House will not convene or conduct votes until the shutdown is resolved, and the Senate Democrats agreed to pass funding measures favored by the House Republicans, because we all know what's going on with our medical insurance and Medicaid and things of that nature. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, the reason that the government is shut down, to my recollection, and you know what? Let's make a little note on that. Let's just get, did we talk about that? No, we didn't get a chance to, because we was talking about the OBBB, okay? And the OBBB took almost 5 hours. And after that almost 5 hours, I was washed, okay? Talking about that big, beautiful bill, baby. It was mentally exhausting. Trying to get through the loops of being like, there could be a fucking pot of, excuse me, YouTube, there could be a freaking pot of gold at the end of this. Because I was like, there's no way they're going to do all this. And then just go watch it. Just go watch it. It's 5 hours long almost, honey. I'm sorry. It just, we had to talk about it. But given that, I was like, the next thing on the agenda was talking about the government shutdown. Unfortunately, I didn't get to that. So we're going to talk about that today. Because, just, okay. Honey? Now, this says, this cancellation of legislative activities has been explicitly communicated in both official statements and pro forma sessions. Now, I didn't read this. I just looked it up and kind of glanced at it, because you're going to see why I say that, because the next question that I started to ask. Official statements and pro forma sessions, and the House was originally set for 4 days of votes that have now been called off, right? So originally, sorry, baby, I hit my mic. Sorry, guys. I called y'all baby. I was talking to my mic. I'm sorry. It's just a force of habit to talk like that, I guess. I'm usually talking to my kids. That's probably why. So to me, this means that they said they had originally, before all of this went down, there was 4 days of votes that had been called off. So they was like, hey, during this government shutdown, we're just not gonna make any votes, guys. We're gonna all pack it up. We're gonna go home. We're gonna see our kids, pet our dogs, and we're gonna come back after y'all agree to what we want you to do. Pretty much, right? Yes? No? Yes. Okay. Meanwhile, the senator has adjourned until next week after repeated failures to advance funding bills, which means there will be no Senate floor proceedings or votes until at least Tuesday. Both chambers are effectively pausing legislative activity related to reopening the government until further negotiations can take place. Easy peasy lemon squeezer, right? You would assume that if your counterpart, which is Republicans or Democrats or congressional or whoever, judges, lawyers, everybody, if they tell you something, if they say, and it's not like a read between the lines situation, it's not like this could be misinterpreted. It's not like they said, hey guys, we're all just going to go home, but they didn't actually say that the floor is going to be closed. You see what I'm trying to say? It's not like there was like, hey, since the government is shut down, we're just all going to take a break. We're all going to take a breather. And they didn't actually officially say that the government was going to shut down. No, nay. They said it. They said, we're closing the floor. There will be no voting. They even had votes on the floor that was for 4 days that they were called off. So obviously everybody is under the impression that we're not going to be able to work, guys. We got to go home. have fun, not have fun, but just do our thing from the house, right? So the next approach that I took was just trying to see, like, is this an official thing, right? So you can see here, right? This is the next thing I asked. Is there any video evidence or written evidence to show the congressional leadership has confirmed? And I pretty much copied and pasted what this other one said. That the congressional government, and I really literally copied and pasted the very first sentence, because this is Perplexity. I use 3 engines. I'm sorry, I usually go over this. I use Grok, Chat, GPT, and Perplexity, okay? So each one of these came from a different source because I like to cross my T's and dot my I's. So this is Grok was my first question. My second question was on Perplexity. Then I took the beginning sentence from Perplexity and asked straight up, you can see it here, is there any video or written evidence of what Perplexity is telling me? Because guys, when I say I just couldn't, I couldn't believe. I couldn't. I literally had to break it down to be like, no way. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Like I said, maybe they said it, but there was not like an official thing, right? I stand corrected. I am a fool because short answer, yes. There's both official written records and on-camera clips showing House leaders canceled votes and kept the chamber out of session during the shutdown. The Speaker, Mike Johnson, has publicly tied reconvening to Senate action. Yes, receipts. And we're going to look at these receipts too, because I was like, nah. Official written evidence. House records. Speaker's formal notice entered in the congressional record on October 3rd, 6 days before this happened. Johnson filed a communication designating October 7th through the 13th, and we all know 9 is between 7 and 13. I ain't got to be a damn mathematician to know that. As a district work period, i.e. no regular floor voting, quote, I hereby designate as a district work period under Clause 13 of Rule 1. I don't know what that quote means. Those words are out of my hands. But we're going to look at it. Clerk of the House live floor status. The clerk's official site shows House not in session, with the next session listed as October 14th, which makes sense because they said through the 17th, the 7th through the 13th, the 14th is the directly after day after the day, 13th. That at 2 p.m. confirming no floor votes during the week in question. Okay? So we're all on the same page, right? You would assume, hey, literally they gave us dates. They said this thing is happening. So we have maybe until the 14th to figure out maybe those 4 days of voting they was going to do. Maybe they could freaking tie those up. Maybe they could find some more details on that. Hey guys, we got until the 14th to get all of our ducks in a row so we can go to the floor with our evidence and our, voting passes that we want, blah, 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 blah. Right? That's what I'm assuming. Confirming no floor votes during the week in question, which is the 7th through the 13th. Okay? What district work period means, I'm so glad they said that. Procedural context, I'm so glad they told me because, baby, who's going to look it up? Under House Rule 1, Clause 13, which is what he said. Is that not what he just said? His quote just said that, and we're going to confirm this quote as well. He said, as a district work period under Clause 13 of Rule 1, and now down here they're giving it to us. Under House Rule 1, Clause 13, a speaker-designated district work period typically means pro forma meetings only. No recorded floor votes or legislating, even though the House may gavel in briefly. Right? So what does this mean? What does this mean? A speaker-designated closure means pro forma meetings only. What does that mean? What is a pro forma meeting? I'm not a politician. I don't know. Let's see. Because maybe... why do I do this to myself? Oh my God, my hopes. Maybe pro forma means that they could have did this. I don't know what it means, right? So let's see, what is this? Pro forma meetings only. What does that mean? Because, honey, I don't know. We're going to come back to this. Because we're going back to this. I need some more details on these. HR 5371, a bill making continuing. What is that? What is this? Because I get that it's a bill doing that, but I don't know what that means. A bill making continuing appropriations and extensions to 50... What? You tell me. Who could tell me? I knew Chat GPT was going to be thinking for a bit. That's okay. Now, going back to perplexity, congressional leadership has confirmed that during the ongoing government shutdown, the House of Representatives is keeping the floor closed for voting. Okay, so I think this is getting pulled here. Let's see if the Grok is down. We're gonna let these think for a second because there's just no way. Did they pull? Hold on. While I wait for it to think for a second, let's go back up here because they did say video evidence as well, right? So we asked what that is below. We're gonna let it think, let it cook. Video evidence, and we're gonna find these. Actually, before we move forward, before I forget, let's see exactly what this written evidence is. So we're gonna open this. You see, this is coming from congress.gov. Legit, congress.gov, guys. Okay, we're gonna open that in a new tab. Ooh. Communication from the speaker. Can y'all see that? You see that? This up here where it's kind of cut off at, it says from the congressional record online through the government publishing office, www.gpo.gov, right? This says communication from the speaker. I have to figure out who that is. Oh, Mike Johnson. I see it. The speaker pro tempore laid before the House the following communication from the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Washington, D.C., October 3rd, 2025. I hereby designate the period from Tuesday, October 7th, 2025 through Monday, October 13, 2025 as a district work period under clause 13 of Rule 1. Mike Johnson, House of the Speaker of Representatives. This is literally what he submitted and said that they was going to do. Okay, this is coming straight from the .gov website, baby. Now, let's see if it's done cooking. It's not done cooking yet. So let's move on to the video because I don't want to stop. Now, they have it on record of him saying that. And then they also have the C-SPAN press conference, day 7 of the shutdown, October 7th. On camera, Speaker Johnson pressed that Democrats must reopen the government, first adding that none of his can happen until Democrats turn the lights back on in Congress. That's a heck of a thing to say 2 days before you fucking try to break the law. Or I don't even know that we're gonna figure out that it's a lawbreaker because it sounded legal to me. It just sounds it just don't even sound just law breaking to me personally. It just sounds repulsive. It sounds skeeving. Does that make sense? That's what it sounds like. But maybe it's just me. Maybe I don't have the proper understanding, so we're gonna find out together. The program description also notes the House remains in recess until the Senate votes to pass a continuing resolution or a full funding bill. House floor clip. Clerk reads the Speaker's notice. Video of the reading clerk announcing Johnson's October 7 through 13 district work period, which functionally council's floor votes for that week. Independent reporting corroborating counciled votes. Politico, Johnson called off next week's votes and told Republicans he'd give 48 hours notice only if the Senate acts. The House will remain out until October 14th. There's a lot of people saying that he said the same thing. Pretty much, this is what that is. Bottom line on the specific claims, floor closed for voting, all House votes canceled next week. Yes, the Speaker District work period October 7th through the 13th, and the clerk's official status page together document that no floor voting was scheduled that week. Multiple outlets reported that scheduled votes were canceled. Speaker Johnson said the House won't convene or vote until Senate Democrats agree to pass GOP-favored funding, which is trash. Sorry, that's just my personal opinion, allegedly. Substance supported. Johnson has repeatedly said that the House will stay out until Democrats reopen the government by passing a funding measure. He's framed it as the Senate needing to act on the House's CR first. This posture is captured on video and in press reporting. E.g., no sessions until the shutdown ends. Remain out until Senate Democrats fold. Exact wording varies by outlet, but the thrust is consistent. Okay, so we all get where that's going, right? Let's see if it's done cooking. Our question, just to remind us, what is pro forma meetings only? Because we see here that part of this whole shutdown, right, is that a speaker designated district work period typically means pro forma meetings only, right? So when he shut it down, they can only have these pro forma meetings. So we're going to understand what that means exactly. Pro forma meetings only or pro forma sessions means the chamber briefly gavels in, often for just a few minutes, without conducting regular floor business. So I guess it's like if they want to have a slumber party. I don't fucking know what that means. What do you mean they just chant? They just go around and sip some tea? That's practically, it's like gossip. Maybe. I don't. Means the chamber briefly gavels in, often just for a few minutes. So it's like touching base pretty much. So they're like, hey, we're here, guys, just to like, is everybody okay? You guys cool, with your districts? Are you cool? Your district's fine, it's not on fire? Okay, cool. What y'all do this week? Kids do anything crazy? All right, meeting adjourned, everybody, we're good. Pretty much, right? Without conducting regular floor business, no debate, no scheduled roll call votes. So it's very, lazy, laid back, loosey goosey. So I'm guessing that when they regularly come into work and they go to the floor, they have to have people being like, I'm here, I'm not here. Because it's like important to know who's here, right? You got to get all that stuff for the record. It's essentially a procedural check-in to say the House or Senate is technically in session, right? Why they do this? Constitutional requirement. The Constitution says neither chamber can adjourn for more than 3 days without the other's consent. Pro forma sessions let members leave town while still satisfying this rule. Senate specific effect. Recess appointments. The Supreme Court has recognized that when the Senate holds pro forma sessions, it is considered in session, which can block presidential recess appointments. What typically happens and doesn't. The presiding officer gavels in, may handle a brief prayer or housekeeping, and gavels out. No business is usually conducted. Often this is pre-agreed by unanimous consent language like pro forma sessions only with no business conducted. So that means they don't vote. That's what this means. It says no business. So you just gossip and you go home. You don't make debates. You don't put stuff on the floor. You don't say, hey, I have this bill that I want to pass. Nothing. You gossip and you go home. Example entry. The House will meet in pro forma session in the Daily Digest. A few fine print nuisances. They could do business if they unanimously agreed. So we're finding between the lines, Okay, pro forma describes the purpose for form's sake, not the legal power of the session. With the necessary consent or quorum, a chamber can transact business. But modern practice is to agree in advance that none will occur. That's what that means. Some limited actions still count. For example, the House can introduce bills during a pro forma session or electronically. In the House, when the Speaker designates a district work period, pro forma sessions are used, and certain routine items like approval for a journal can be deemed approved under the House rules, reinforcing that no normal voting is expected. But as we discovered in the beginning of our journey, it said in part, Congress in part. So when they says they could do business if unanimously agreed, there was no unanimous decision if it was only part of the Congress that was there. So no, what they did is against what the rules in place are. It's against what he said, right? Bottom line, when you see pro forma meetings only on the House schedule, expect very brief check-ins and no floor votes until normal settings resume. So that means exactly what I said. We're going to go in, check on you, your district okay, it's not on fire, we're fine. Okay, cool. Your dog's okay, everybody fine, your grandma okay, how your mama? Cool, bye. And that's supposed to be it. But these people that went in here and we're going to find out who did it. Which one is the question on? That who said partly? Grok said partly, right? Part of Congress. So we're gonna find out which part. And you're gonna see my question here. I'm gonna say So I said, you stated that part of the Congress came for the vote, and I wanted them, can you elaborate on that? Is there anything showing who came and how that worked? Because that's what we're going to find out. So, because how is it possible that part of the Congress knew about this meeting, they all in a group text, being like, hey, let's go real quick. Like, they ain't calling each other. You know, they probably, well, I bet they'll call each other from burners doing shit like this, honey. It don't make no sense. Because, and then let's also see about that video here. Another Congress got, no, that's not it. I'm looking for video evidence. C-SPAN press conference. Here we go. Let's see if we can get a little visual here. Speaker Johnson on day 7 of government shutdown. Right? Let's see how this works. I've never done this part before. These videos? How does this work? Play 1 minute from speaker. Let's see about it.
And thank you guys very, very much. Take care.
Lawmakers introduced legislation. This is October 7th, 2 days before. 2 days before they try to replace voter fraud. And we're also going to find out if what they're doing is legal. I know they're breaking a lot of laws, but you got to clock it. So,
C-SPAN, Democracy Unfiltered. We're funded by these television companies and more, including MediaCom.
Dear Future, we're on a mission to make small-town America bigger than anyone ever dreamed. That's why at MediaCom, we're always pushing the limits, increasing speeds, improving reliability, and we'll do...
Hold on. Let's see if they show what he's saying.
See, it isn't just an idea. It's a process shaped by leaders elected to the highest office.
I don't think so. I don't think they got him saying it. Maybe they do. Now this isn't. Ooh, there's a lot. Okay, here we go. Oh, what is this? Let me look at what it say behind here. Good morning again, everyone. I wanted to give you a couple. Okay. This looks like it's starting the actual speech here. So we're gonna look at this.
Well, good morning again, everyone. Wanted to give you a couple of updates this morning. Yesterday, we assembled here, and I went through what I would summarize as 6 simple truths about the shutdown. I started with the background, a review of how we got to where we are, and then talked with you about the Democrats' counter-proposal and some of the absurd things that they've been demanding to reopen the government. And then I gave you an update on the current status. We did some questions. Well, sadly, that status has not changed. As you know, last night, the Senate Democrats, the same group, voted again to keep the government closed. So that was their 5th vote to shut the government down on the American people. It is regrettable and sad, and real pain is being felt by real people because of these political shenanigans. So today, instead of the 6 simple truths, I'm going to give you 5 key facts, okay? And then we'll do some questions. I'll be more brief today. I do think it is incumbent upon us to mark the tragic anniversary of October 7. And I'll just say just a very brief word about that. There's a lot that could be said. But there are protests right now around the country and around the world against Israel. And it makes no sense. We have to remember what October 7th marks. It was a massacre. You had 1,200 people that were murdered, many of them tortured and raped. I mean, just the most heinous crimes. Bloodthirsty Hamas terrorists went into villages of Jewish people in Israel and murdered babies and put them in ovens. It's unspeakable, and I won't go into the gross detail of what happened, but it was just terribly, terribly tragic. And then, of course, they kidnapped 250 people. It was the darkest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. And these are objective facts, and right now there are people protesting against Israel for fighting a war. To defend their people and their homeland. And I would just say this very brief. I was on a radio interview this morning at WABC in New York. One of my friends there, Sid Rosenberg, and he is the host of that program, and he is himself Jewish. And we were talking about this, and we were talking about the good versus evil thing, and he said a lot of Jewish people today are dejected because they see these protests around the globe and against the wrong side. And I just said to Sid, and I'll read it to you, I brought my Bible in here this morning. Let me just I said, Sid, I'm always comforted by this passage in the Psalms, the Old Testament, the Christian Old Testament, but this is the Psalm of the Jewish people, the Psalm of David, Psalm 37. And it says, commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will do this. I'll read it to you. Trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will do this. He will make your righteousness shine like the dawn. The justice of your cause like the noonday sun. It says, be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when men succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes. I told my friend Sid on the radio, and he was comforted by it, and I think others will be as well. We're all comforted by this. I know that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is fully in control. We'll let that rest there. Let me talk about the shutdown here real quick, and I promised you just 5 fast facts, 5 key facts, okay? I'm going to start with Leader Schumer's record, because he is leading the opposition, and he is the one telling the Democrats to keep the government shut down. Chuck Schumer has been in Congress for 44 years. He was first elected to the House in 1981. Just for reference, I was 9 years old. I was in the 3rd grade when Chuck Schumer came here to Congress. Throughout his entire career, he has been very, very consistent about the necessity of keeping the government open until just now. In fact, I want to read to you an excerpt from 7 months ago, his floor speech on March 13th, 2025. This is Senator Chuck Schumer in March of this year. Quote, on the Senate floor, while the CR bill is very bad, the potential for a shutdown has consequences for America that are much, much worse. I believe it is my job to make the best choice for the country to minimize the harms of the American people. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open and not shut it down, unquote. Now, what was Chuck Schumer talking about? The exact same bill that is on the floor today. That's what he himself said. And he did vote to keep the government open. And then, during an interview with Jake Tapper on CNN following that vote, on March 14th of this year, he said, quote, I'm proud I did it. I know I did the right thing, unquote. That is Chuck Schumer himself. Today's the exact same scenario. It is the exact same vote. It is the exact same spending levels, and he has no reason whatsoever to do anything different, except for the politics. So that's fact number 2. Fact number 1 was Schumer's record. Fact number 2 is his calculation today. It is purely about politics. He is recognizing the reality of the political winds changing in the state of New York. As I mentioned yesterday, they are likely to elect a Marxist to be the mayor of New York City, and Chuck Schumer is terrified by that. He's been in Congress a long...
Whoa, what is that? What did you say? What is
calculation today. It is purely about politics. He is recognizing the reality of the political winds changing in the state of New York. As I mentioned yesterday, they are likely to elect a Marxist to be the mayor of New York City, and Chuck Schumer is terrified by that. He's been in Congress a long time, and he is not the flavor of the day. He's not far enough left for the Marxist, and he knows he's going to get a challenge from his left flank. So he has to show a fight against President Trump, no matter how ridiculous it is, no matter how distracting it may be to the actual issues of the day. He's got to do that. Democrats have been in the political wilderness since last year's election. I got a couple of numbers for you here. Just over a week ago, Quinnipiac released the latest poll. The lowest favorability rating for the Democrat Party ever recorded. They're at about 30%. 30% favorability. Democrats have hit historic lows in poll after poll since the beginning of this year. Wall Street Journal poll, CNBC poll, the Pew survey, et cetera, et cetera. You've all seen it. Many of you reported on it. have reported on it, and that is a fact that is inescapable. Third fast fact this morning, the Democrats' record on the CRs. You know about Chuck Schumer's record, but they've all done it. Democrats and Republicans have worked together to pass 13 CRs to keep the government open under the Biden administration in the previous 4-year term. Democrats supported every CR close to unanimously in the House and the Senate. In fact, their average is 99%. 99% of the Democrats who are voting no right now voted yes 13 times on the almost exact same, word for word, very simple CRs to keep the government open. But they won't do it now. The fourth fast fact this morning is the actual cost of the Democrats' CR counterproposal. I showed you all the graphics and all the evidence, and it's still there on my website at speaker.gov. You can go and see. The Democrats' counterproposal, what they're demanding to reopen the government and get it working for the American people again, would result in nearly $200 billion being spent on health care services for illegal immigrants and other non-citizens. It's enough to fund the entire children's health insurance program, $200 billion. And that's just part of the proposal. What they're demanding to reopen the government and get it working for the American people again would result in nearly $200 billion being spent on health care services for illegal immigrants and other non-citizens. It's enough to fund the entire children's health insurance program, $200 billion. And that's just part of the $1.5 trillion in new spending that they...
Stop. You need to stop. Just, these are a lot of things you're putting out here, and I hope it's all right. I hope you're telling the truth. You ain't coming up in front of us telling these big ass numbers and you lying to me. 200 billion? I just looked at a video that said that the last, in 2023, when it was recorded, it was 0.04%. No. Maybe I'm tripping. Nah. Okay, hold on. 200 billion being used to healthcare services for illegal immigrants. Baby. Oh, I'm not typing.
Would result in nearly $200 billion being spent on healthcare services for illegal immigrants and other non-citizens. It's enough to fund the entire children's health insurance program, $200 billion. And that's just part of the $1.5 trillion in new spending that they want to hoist upon the American people for big liberal wish lists in the middle of a very simple 7-week stopgap funding measure to keep the lights on. Fifth fast fact, and I'll take your questions, the cost of the government shutdowns for real people. So this results in
I can't even spell trillion. That's how broke I am. Honey?
crippling economic losses right now. These are the latest numbers. We've been assembling these, and I'm sure many of you all have been reporting on it. Each week the shutdown continues. It will wipe out an estimated $15 billion in our gross domestic product in our country. A month-long shutdown would mean not just 750,000 federal civilian employees furloughed right now, but an additional 43,000 more unemployed Americans across the economy, because that is the effect, the ripple effect that it has in the private sector. You could go state by state, and we could have charts and graphs this morning and show you what it's going to mean to every state. But what the shutdown means in the state of New York, for example, that's Chuck Schumer's state. The impact there is a decline of $1.2 billion per month in GDP. That is the pain that is being wrought. And I, again, have to mention that when you shut down, as they have, women, infants, and children nutrition programs.
What does that mean?
Programs, veterans health services, the disabled, the elderly.
Sorry, that's me.
Who who receive health care at home. All these programs are now being shuttered because the funding streams have stopped. We have troops, we have Border Patrol agents, TSA agents that are all serving, protecting all of us, protecting the country without pay right now. Real hardships for real families, and it cannot drag on any longer. We are pleading with the Democrats in the Senate to do the right thing. The Republicans are united 100%, and we have proven it with our votes. The President, the Republicans in the Senate, and of course the Republicans in the House have done the right thing. We have all advocated to keep the government open. We have all voted repeatedly over and over to keep the government open. And it comes down to the necessity of 60 votes in the Senate. We only have 53 Republicans. And so we have to have a handful of Democrats who will wake up and do the right thing and stop inflicting pain on the American people so that they can score political points. I'll take your questions. Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Hey.
I would like to know, do you think all those federal employees will receive the back pay if they keep their job? And then also, we saw in the Democrats' CR almost $500 million for PBS and NPR, $174,000 in death benefits to those 3 Democrat lawmakers' families who recently passed away, $437 million for the European Bank. Could you also comment on those 3 provisions too?
Yes, I mentioned in the counterproposal, the CR for the Democrats presented, it's $1.5 trillion. And if you go through it, and we have, and you analyze what it is they're requesting, it's a list of absurd priorities. They know that we could never do that and would never do it because it's wrong. For example, they want to give $500 million back to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. In the One Big Beautiful Bill, we eliminated that line. We don't they can score political points.
On those 3 provisions.
Analyze what it is they're requesting. Presented, it's $1.5 trillion. And if you go through it, and we have, and you analyze what it is they're requesting, it's a list of absurd priorities. They know that we could never do that and would never do it because it's wrong. For example, they want to give $500 million back to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. We don't believe that taxpayers should be funding biased news organizations and subsidizing their operations. That might have made sense 30 or 40 years ago, but you don't need that service anymore. Look how many media outlets are present in the room this morning. Media and information is ubiquitous. It's 24/7. It's live all the time, and it's on the internet. We don't need taxpayers funding that, and they were all left-leaning, biased organizations. We're not doing that again. And some of these other priorities that you mentioned, there are many that we could list that are just outrageous. It has nothing to do with the current proposal to keep the government in operation for 7 more weeks so that we continue the appropriations process. We're trying to fund the government, and you need Republicans and Democrats to work together to get that done. With regard to whether the furloughed civilian employees of the federal government will receive back pay, it is true that in previous shutdowns, many or most of them have been paid for the time that they were furloughed. But there is new legal analysis. I don't know the details. I just saw a headline this morning. I'm not read in on it, and I haven't spoken to the White House about it. But there are some legal analysts who are saying that that may not be appropriate or necessary in terms of the law requiring that back pay be provided. So
Stop! In the name of love, before you break my heart. I have to break this. I have to break this before I throw my computer. No, he didn't just say that. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. What is he talking about? No, he didn't. No, new data analysis to not pay furlough. How, Shway? To not pay furlough. To not pay furlough. To not pay furlough. To not pay furlough. How do you spell that? Furlough. back pay, to not pay. I'm just gonna say back pay. To not pay back pay. How do you new legal analysis from who? From the Trump administration? So the Trump administration found new data like they did when it came to the job numbers, right? This new legal analysis. How long have we been an established country? And you just so happen to get into the office and find new analysis that says it's not necessary for somebody to get paid for working. Imagine going to work tomorrow, right? And you go to work for your 2 weeks. And then it becomes check day. And you check your bank account because you got auto pay like everybody else. You know, you check your auto pay, and nothing came through. And you said, it's Friday, right? It's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I know my payment's supposed to come through at 8. Beep, boop, 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 boop. Excuse me, manager. I'm checking my bank account and I don't have my payment coming through. I didn't change my bank or anything of that nature. So is everything okay? Yes, hello, Razor. I was expecting your call. Listen, for the last couple of weeks that you've been coming in on time and working every day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., we just don't think it's necessary to pay you for that right now. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, we don't think it's necessary for us to pay you for those hours that you came in and worked. That's what I said. Imagine that.
So I'm sure that'll be there'll be a lot of discussion about that. But there are legal analysts who think that is not something that government should do. That, if that is true, that should turn up the urgency and the necessity of the Democrats doing the right thing here. Even more pain, more than I just listed, for more people. So we got to figure it out. Back row, yes, sir.
You've spoken repeatedly since the shutdown began about the impacts on FEMA, the National Flood Insurance Program. Talk about how you're from a hurricane state. If this is a priority for you, why not bring the House back and vote on a reauthorization for NFIP or for WIC or troops pay or all those things for that matter?
Well, there's a lot of issues that we need to address, and we work on flood insurance, the flood insurance program.
I didn't hear what he just said. Oh, you gonna play.
Time that they were furloughed. But there is new legal analysis. I don't know the details. I just saw a headline this morning. I'm not read in on it, and I haven't spoken to the White House about it. But there are some legal analysts who are saying that that may not be appropriate or necessary in terms of the law requiring that back pay be provided. So I'm sure that'll be there will be a lot of discussion about that. But there are legal analysts who think that is not something that government should do. That, if that is true, that should turn up the urgency and the necessity of the Democrats doing the right thing here. Even more pain, more than I just listed, for more people. So we got to figure it out. Back row, yes, sir.
Speaker, you've spoken repeatedly since the shutdown began about the impacts on FEMA, the National Flood Insurance Program. Talk about how you're from a hurricane state. If this is a priority for you, why not bring the House back and vote on a reauthorization for NFIP or for WIC or troops pay or all those things for that matter?
Well, there's a lot of issues that we need to address, and we work on flood insurance, the flood insurance program. Program all the time, those of us in hurricane states. But the work of the House has been done, and we have to get the Senate to reopen the government so that we can come back and handle all of these very important end-of-the-year issues. There's a lot of things on the table. FEMA has sufficient resources right now to do that. We do have to extend the flood insurance program, annually, effectively, to make sure that it's there. But we'll do that. We'll do it in due course. There's a lot of end-of-year issues that are being conflated with this very simple issue of keeping the government open. And that is the first and most immediate priority, and we must use every leverage point we have to force the Democrats to do that. And that's why we're handling the schedule the way we are. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thanks, sir. You talked about Leader Schumer's record with regard to continuing resolutions. Your record, you voted against continuing resolutions in the past, including when Speaker McCarthy was the Speaker. How do you explain your stance now versus yours previously?
Yeah, different circumstances, different time. program all the time.
When Speaker McCarthy, with regard to continued leadership.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. You've talked about Leader Schumer's record with regard to continuing resolutions. Your record, you voted against continuing resolutions in the past, including when Speaker McCarthy was the speaker. How do you explain your stance now versus yours previously?
Yeah, different circumstances. Times when we did CRs in the past, you had leverage points of things that when the Democrats were trying to put their partisan priorities in, we were trying to use whatever leverage we had in the minority to take them out. Very important distinction right now. We did not put in Republican priorities in the clean CR. I could have. I could have put some of our priorities or poison pills or things that Democrats had done in the past to us. We didn't. And that's why there's nothing to negotiate right now. People say, why aren't you negotiating? I don't have anything to offer. I can't go to a clean CR and say, let me pull off the Republican priority and make it more palatable for you, because we didn't add that in. It's simply a status quo continuance. One of the things we objected to back then was these were Biden-level policies and spending. I still object to that. But what I'm trying to do is keep the government open so that we can readjust those things. And as I gave you the long background yesterday, the summary of how we got to where we are, the appropriations process is working again. And we're going to be able to reprioritize federal spending, but we have to allow the time for that to continue, and we need 7 more weeks. But every day that they keep the government open, it gives us less time to finish the job.
I'm talking about when McCarthy was the speaker and you guys had a majority in 2023.
Yeah, well, we had divided government as well, right? The Democrats were, Chuck Schumer was over here negotiating in the Senate, and that's what's so ironic about it. When we were in the Oval Office, Chuck Schumer looked the president in the eyes and said, I've always been very fair. I've always allowed the Republicans their priorities. And I just looked at him like, oh, what? I'm sitting right here. I was the guy you were negotiating with. I called him at the 11th hour, I remember very vividly, and asked him not to put in a terrible poison pill that was a big Democrat priority that is outrageous to the conservatives. And he said, yeah, I'm sorry, Speaker, can't help you, and literally hung up on me, you know. So now he wants me to be a fair broker. I have been. I gave him much more grace than he ever deserved. Yes, sir. Jake, sorry.
As a matter of principle, on the back pay.
Poison pill. What is he talking about? What is he talking about?
Process is working again, and we're going to be able to reprioritize federal spending, but we have to allow the time for that to continue, and we need 7 more weeks. But every day that they keep the government open, it gives us less time to finish the job.
I'm talking about when McCarthy was the speaker and you guys had a majority in 2023.
Yeah, well, we had divided government as well, right? The Democrats were, Chuck Schumer was over here negotiating in the Senate, and that's what's so ironic about it. When we were in the Oval Office, Chuck Schumer looked the president in the eyes and said, I've always been very fair. I've always allowed the Republicans their priorities. And I just looked at him like, oh, what? I'm sitting right here. I was the guy you were negotiating with. I called him at the 11th hour, I remember very vividly, and asked him not to put in a terrible poison pill that was a big Democrat priority that is outrageous to.
What is he talking about? Put in a poison pill, a bit is he talking about NACR? Is the only thing I can refer to. Did the Democrats, what are you talking about? Put in, I'm guessing a poison pill is like a DC referred to it as Republican priorities. Did the Democrats put in Democratic priorities in a CR in 2023? I'm not even going to say Republicans. Schumer. Schumer. How do you spell his name again? Schumer. See right there. Right? Put in a CR and change it in 2023. A poison pill.
The conservatives, that is outrageous to the conservatives. And he said, yeah, I'm sorry, Speaker, can't help you, and literally hung up on me, you know. So now he wants me to be a fair broker. I have been. I gave him much more grace than he ever deserved. Yes, sir. Jake, sorry.
As a matter of principle on the back pay.
As a matter of principle on the back pay.
I mean, understanding that there are people who have opinions about everything and analysis about everything, do you believe as a matter of principle that furloughed workers should receive back pay?
Yeah, I hope that the furloughed workers receive back pay, of course. We have some extraordinary Americans who serve the federal government. They serve valiantly, and they work hard, and they serve in these various agencies doing really important work. I can tell you the president believes that as well. He and I have talked about this personally. He doesn't want people to go without pay, and that's why he pleaded with Chuck Schumer to do the right thing and vote to keep the government open. We don't want this to happen. The key point, the important point to remember here is this can stop right now. They'll get another opportunity to change course and open the government. And then we'll have all these policy debates, as we always do. This, again, is a deliberative body. We've got 535 individuals serving here between the Senate and the House. We've got to have the time to do all the deliberation, but you got to have the lights on to do it, and that's the whole point. Yes, sir.
So he keeps referencing and saying, you got to have the lights on to do it, which means that there's not going to be any votes going on right now until the government reopens. We're all on the same page.
Some of your own members have expressed concern about the expiration of the estate tax credits. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been the latest one. There are concerns that when they expire, premiums for millions of Americans would skyrocket. Why not begin negotiations on that issue right now?
Because the government is closed, and as I mentioned, that's a December 31 issue. There are lots of conversations and deliberations and discussions right now, even bipartisan amongst members, about necessary changes that would have to be made, pretty dramatic changes, to even have that considered on the floor. But look, I'm not going to forecast the outcome of that. The whole point is you keep the government open, and then we have those discussions. We were always planning to have those discussions in the month of October. That's how the process works. And this is a very complicated issue. It's not a simple one. And you have, as I mentioned, there's probably 400 different ideas on the table of how to modify, change, or improve that if it is indeed going to be extended. And there's lots.
It just don't sound accurate.
There's lots of concern all the way around. But there's no way that if four of us can go in a room and just snap our fingers and say, oh, here's the solution, let's get it done. We haven't had time to do that. And so we will, but we have to get the lights back on and get everybody here working again in their committees, through their processes, and on the floor in order to have fruitful conversations about that. So we'll hope that we'll do it. Yes, sir.
Congresswoman Greene specifically said that Republicans do not have a plan to deal with health care.
Congresswoman Greene does not serve on the committees of jurisdiction that deal with those specialized issues, and she's probably not read in on some of that because they've still been sort of in their silos of the people who specialize in those issues. When we get the conference back and when everybody's back together, we'll go through a lot of that. I mean, I've spoken personally to a number of members in the last 3 days, Republicans, from the most conservative member to the more moderate member, with their various ideas on that. There's a lot of work that's been done on that. It's implied as if this has been some sort of ignored issue. It's not that at all.
I do want to say, as a side note, that he has said several times, we all witnessed, that there is no votes that's going to happen because of the government shutdown. He's been asked several times, why won't you have these discussions? And he has said, because of the government shutdown. I just want that to be noted, because it's very peculiar how you can't talk about this because of the government shutdown, but somebody turned around and had a vote anyway. So let's find out who that is after these last couple of
Okay, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. I mean, not everyone knows everything. Congress is a very complex organization, operation, institution with lots of things going on and lots of different areas of committees of jurisdiction. And no one member is read in on everything that happens because that would be an impossible amount of information. Yeah, let me go front row. Yes, sir.
President Trump yesterday expressed a willingness to work with Democrats on the health care issue. You say that's not going to happen so long as the government is shut down. Does that change your calculus that the president says that he wants to see some kind of a negotiation or discussion on this, even if the government is shut down?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw his truth after that was reported, but he made very clear that, yes, he's happy to sit down and talk with Democrats about health care.
I can't begin to describe how upsetting it is when I have somebody like this talking about after the president said something. I don't know if you saw his truths. Truths, if you don't know what that is, I'm pretty sure everybody on that planet in America knows what truths is by now, is a social media application. Imagine any professional job you can think of. A lawyer, a doctor. Who else is professional? You know, some secretaries, like very high class secretaries. I don't care if you even talk about somebody as simple as a high class chef. Anybody in any managerial in any kind of high position, any CEO, CFO, anybody. If I ever ask you about what they said in the meeting notes, and you follow through by saying, "Oh, they did say that in the meeting notes," but I don't know if you freaking seen their Facebook after. I don't know if you seen their TikTok. Hey, I know we had that big meeting this morning at 7 a.m., but when we left, did you see Razor's Twitter? But this is the president of the United States, and you talking about his fucking Truth Social. Excuse me, YouTube. You have any idea how upsetting that is to a logical thinking person? I know I don't look it. I don't look like I have many fucking thoughts in my head. Excuse me, YouTube. But I freaking do. And I know that I don't sit in any respectable seat. I'm sitting in my office, in my gamer chair, and even I would not follow through from a meeting and say, "Did you see his socials?" His social media. Not his official press briefing after, not his executive order signing, not nothing. Did you see his truths?
Or anything as soon as they reopen the government. And we are 100% consistent and united on that. I spoke to the president at length yesterday about that very thing. And yes, he wants to solve problems. The president is a deal maker. He likes to figure these things out and works towards solutions. And that's why he's a bold, strong leader that America needs right now. I'm excited to work with him on that. I have the exact same opinion and position. But again, none of this can happen until the Democrats stop inflicting pain on the American people and turn the lights back on in Congress and get everybody back to work. I certainly pray and hope that they will do that and they don't drag this on for political purposes. Thank you all so much.
Mr. Speaker, when will you swear in Ms. Grijalva?
So as we saw, we don't have to watch him walk out. As we saw, he said multiple times that there's going to be no votes until the government's open again, right? Okay. Going back to Grok, I asked, you stated that part of the Congress came for the vote. Can you elaborate on that? Is there anything showing who came and how that worked? Because we just saw the Speaker of the House of Representatives say that as long as the government is shut down, we are not going to have any votes on the floor for this. What was he talking about specifically? for that particular vote. Okay, we know what we're talking about. Talking about the one that does Medicaid. Okay, we'll get to that as well. Okay, so that was my question. I just read it. Is there any, who came? You know, like, I want to know who showed up. They said it wasn't on the official record, but like, let's see if we can find anything, right? Sorry, my leg was getting numb in that position. I apologize. In earlier response, I referred to the U.S. Senate as part of Congress because Congress consists of two chambers, the House of Representatives and the Senate. The only Senate was and only the Senate was actively in session and conducting votes on October 9th. Okay, let's see what that means. The House of Representatives had no floor activity or votes that day, and as it was not in session, likely due to the recess or adjournment, which is common during budget negotiations to avoid the shutdown, this is based on official congressional records, which show no House actions listed for the date. Regarding the votes themselves, the Senate convened the legislative business Let me read that whole sentence before I jump to conclusions. Regarding the votes themselves, the Senate convened for legislative business, including attempts to advance bills related to continuing appropriations to fund the government temporarily and avoid a shutdown. Votes in the Senate, especially on the procedural matters like cloture, a motion to end debate and move to a final vote, are conducted via roll call. This means the Senate clerk calls for each senator's name alphabetically and they respond with yeah, nay, or may choose not to vote if absent, excused, or abstaining. A simple majority, 51 votes, is typically needed for most actions, but cloture requires a 3/5 supermajority, or 60 votes, which is not more. Okay, look at me, mathematician. To overcome the filibuster. Senators can vote from the floor via proxy, which is rarely, or by pairing announcing intent without being present. But roll calls capture attendance and positions publicly. On October 9th, the Senate held multiple roll call votes, but the key ones related to your original query were on cloture motions for H.R. 5371 and S. 2882, both continuing resolutions. There were also votes on amendments such as S.A. 3853, which failed 1088, and S.A. 3872, which failed 59 to 6. Or I apologize, 39 to 59. I read that backwards. But those appear to have been tied to broader defense or appropriation debates earlier in the day. Who came essentially refers to participation. Yes, it does, which is what I'm talking about. The Senate has 100 members and nearly all participated in these votes. 97 to 99 per vote, indicating high attendance despite the ongoing budget impasse. Absences are noted as not voting in official records, which could be due to travel, illness, or strategic responses, avoiding a vote. Below, I'll detail the two main closure notes, including participation and patterns based on official Senate roll call data. So they said that the Senate came, not the House of Representatives, correct? The Senate has 100 members, 97 to 99 per vote. Nearly all participated in these votes, 99 to 97 per vote, right? So 99 to 97 per vote. That means that when we put those numbers together, when it was like, oh, it failed from this is that and this is that, we were supposed to be able to add those two numbers together and get about 99, 97 people that voted on it. There was like either yay or nay, or, I ain't voting on it or whatever. Okay, pretty much, right? Who is the Senate? Exactly. Below, I'll detail two major closure notes. Okay, vote 55. The first thing I want to know, hold on, before we get to this, hold the phone. Because before I do this, because I don't know who these people are, right? The Senate. what's that thing they called it? Of perpetrator. What they said. I remember they said it. Hold on. What they called it? I looked it up too. We're under something. What is it called again? Per something. Hold on. I'll find it. None of this can happen until Democrats tell them something. Because it sounds like they can't do it. Because there's a specific thing that's in place. They said that they only do it. Hold on, I looked it up. Pro forma meetings only. How, Sway? How can you have that if you're okay? How does the Senate consist? Okay, first of all, first thing I want to know is who does the Senate consist of? Or does the Senate consist of okay, I said it right. Does the Senate consist of Republican and Democrats or who? Because I think there's like an independent or something like that. So I'm just going to throw that in there just so I can cover as much base as possible. Now, after I want to know that, how can they have a vote if they are pro forma meetings only in the shutdown? If they are, yeah, that's pretty much how you should say it, right? So how can they have a vote like this? How can they have a vote? Because they literally described it by voting in. But we just learned that pro forma meetings, you cannot be like, I'm voting in, I'm going to put my name down. They said that they can't do that. They're not allowed. They said that you can only have 4 informal kind of gossipy moments. You could check in on each other, you gavel in, you gavel out, and you're done, hun. Like, that's what's supposed to happen. My phone hit the keyboard. Hold on, guys. Microsoft Edge is learning. I'm not learning with you, baby. Come on. Come on back to me. So, how can they do that if it's done? Is this legal? And if it is, what are the rules? So let's find out together, guys. Now, while this stinks, we see that this is the official thing. We're going to close this because we don't need it anymore. We saw his meetings. While I was watching his meetings, I took some notes because he was talking about a bunch of stuff. Talking about facts, talking about a bunch of stuff I never really heard of, talking about a bunch of numbers, talking about what the Democrats is doing. First of all, I'm not even going to get into it. Let's just continue forward because this part about the not paying soldiers no back pay, we have to know what that is because you're trife. You're wrong. What new analysis are you referring to? We're going to get to all of that. So we're going to, I can get rid of this. I don't need this anymore. I'm not going to watch you no more, honey. Okay, so we got that. Okay, here we go. Now, just a reminder real quick. Does the Senate consist of Republican and Democrats? Or who? Like, right? Because I'm absolutely positive it probably has some sort of even kilter, right? 100 people has to have both, right? I think. But we're going to figure that out. How can they have a vote if they are pro forma meetings only in the shutdown? Okay? Is this legal? What are the rules? If it's not legal, or if it is, what's the rules exactly for this kind of thing, right? So here we go. The U.S. Senate is one chamber of Congress and consists of, they keep telling me that, and I don't know what that means exactly. I'm not a politician. Maybe I'm not smart enough to get it. But we're going to find out here. 100 elected members, 2 from each state, serving 6-year terms, 2 from each state. So they're the state's representatives. Okay. Oh, yeah, we did learn that the House and the Senate are 2 different things. The Senate has 2 per state, no matter its population, and then in the House it depends on the population how many people that they have in the seat. We did learn that maybe a couple of sessions ago. The partition composition is 49 Republicans, 47 Democrats, and 4 independents. See, I knew there was some independents in there sprinkled in. Okay, So the independents, Bernie Sanders of Vermont, Angus King of Maine, Christine Sinema, oh how interesting, of Arizona, and Joe Manchin of West Virginia, typically caucus with the Democrats for organizational purposes, giving Democrats effective control of the chamber. With 51 to 49 majority. That's very important. This breakdown can shift due to resignations, deaths, or special elections, but no such changes have occurred since the 119th Congress convened in January of 2025. A government shutdown like the one that began on October 1st, 2025 due to the failure to pass appropriations bills and continuing resolutions. I'm gonna put that down because I don't want to forget that. Hold on, let me get this whole thing actually, because I'm gonna look into this too, because we gotta figure out exactly. I want as much detail as possible. Here we go. Primarily affects non-essential operations in the executive branch agencies funded by annual appropriations. It does not shut down Congress itself, which is funded through a separate permanent appropriation and continues to operate, pay its staff, and conduct business as needed. The Senate and House can still convene for full legislative sessions, hold hearings, debate, and vote on bills during a shutdown. There's no prohibition against it. Pro forma sessions are brief. Procedural meetings, often lasting just minutes, where no substantial business is conducted, typically to satisfy constitutional requirements or prevent the president from making recess appointments under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution, the Recess Appointments Clause. These are scheduled every few days during adjournments longer than 3 days, per the Constitution's Adjournment Clause in Article 1, Section 5. To avoid a true recess, in a pro forma session, usually only 1 or 2 members are present. There's no quorum call. A quorum of 51 senators is required for most business under Senate Rule. Is that 6? I want to say it's 6, because I think V is 5 and then the 1. So we're just going to add them together. If it's not, I'm sorry. But you see it. You see it. You know what it is. And actions are limited to routine matters like adjourning again, often by unanimous consent if anyone objects to more. Votes rarely happen in pure pro forma sessions because there's no debate or full attendance. However, the Senate can shift from pro forma to full session if leadership decides to convene properly. Members show up and a quorum is established. For example, during the current shutdown, the Senate held pro forma sessions on debates like October 10th. Okay, the Senate held pro forma sessions on dates like October 10, 2025, but conducted actual roll call votes on October 9th, 2025, e.g. on cloture motions for funding bills, indicating it was a regular legislative session that day, not just pro forma. This is entirely legal and common during budget passes. Congress has done so in the past shutdown, 2013, 2018 to 19. Good. Okay, so it's common. Okay. We're getting back on the tracks here, guys. To negotiate resolutions, the key rules governing this from U.S. Constitution Article 1, Section 5 empowers each chamber to determine its own rules, adjourn for up to 3 days without others' consent, and require a quorum for business. The Recess Appointments Clause influences pro forma use to block unilateral presidential actions. Senate Standing Rules. Rule 1, convening and adjourning. Rule that one, quorum requirements. I don't want to keep calling it the wrong thing, okay? And rule that one, closure and debate limits, outline session procedures. The Senate can adjourn, sine die, end a session permanently, or for short periods in leaderships, e.g. the majority leaders, schedule sessions via unanimous consent or votes. precedents and practice, documented in sources like Riddick's Senate procedure, which notes that pro forma sessions are a modern tactic widely used since the 2000s to maintain control during breaks without allowing recess longer than 3 days. If no quorum is present or business is attempted without agreement, it could be challenged, but in practice, these sessions and transitions to full votes are routine and upheld by courts. Okay, good. Okay, so we've discovered that this is above board. It's something that has happened, looks like 3 years. Past shutdowns 2013, 18 through 19. Okay, so it's happened previously. It is conducted by the Senate, which it is Democrats as well as Republicans. Okay, so we are in a better stance than where we started. Okay, so we are still under a government that is going the legal way, which is amazing. Okay, I'm so glad we did this. So let's talk about exactly what they voted for, right? Because we already have it pulled. I just gotta find it. Here it is. Vote 558. Closure on the motion to proceed to H.R. 5371. Description. This was a procedural vote to end debate and advance to consideration, because I do believe that lady said something about voting on who's an employee and who's not, which I don't quite understand. If somebody, works and applies and then gets a paycheck, I would assume that's an employee. So let's figure out what's going on here. The House passed continuing resolution for FY 2026 funding. Date and time, which is the 9th. Required 3/5 majority or 60 votes. Results rejected. Failed to reach 60 votes. Tally 54 yeas, 45 nays. 1 not voting. 99 total participants. So, as we stated, the yeas and the nays and the not voting, everything is supposed to align and get us at least to almost 100 or 97 to 99, as it was stated previously. So, Democrats and Republicans were there. Voting patterns, this was largely along party lines, with nearly all Republicans supporting closure to advance the bill. The most Democrats opposing it, a few Democrats and independents crossed over to support. Okay, so yeas is 54, nays is 45. 49 Republicans and 4 Democrats. These are the yeas. Plus 2 others implied in courts but not specified in breakdowns. 1 independent. These are the yeas. Nays is 43 Democrats, 1 Republican, and 1 independent. Okay, so am I understanding this backwards? This was a procedural vote to end debate and advance to consideration of H.R. 5371. The House passed continuing resolution. Oh. Wait. This say 2 different things. This says the House passed continuing resolution for FY 2026 funding. This was a procedural vote to end debate and advance to consideration of H.R. 5371. And then this one says rejected, failed to reach 60 votes. Tally, 54 yeas and 45 nays. So it has to reach 60 votes. Okay, guys. Okay, I get it now. So you need 3/5 majority or at least 60 votes. And they only got 54 votes, right? And 49 of them were Republicans. 4 Democrats, Cortez Mastoff, NV, Fetterman, PA, plus 2 others implied in courts but not specified in breakdowns. Okay. Why don't they tell me what it is, though? What is this? I would like to know. And while it's thinking and cooking, we're going to go to vote 557. Closure on the motion to proceed to S 2882. This was a procedural vote to end debate and advance to consideration of we're going to find out what this is too. A Senate alternative continuing resolution to FY 2026 funding. And this also needs 3/5 majority. It got rejected. It only got 47 yeas and needs at least 60 with 50 nays and 3 not voting. Okay, this flipped the party dynamics from the previous vote. Mostly Democrats supported advancing their version, while all Republicans opposed it. No crossovers from Republicans. Okay. These votes reflect partisan divisions over funding priorities, with Republicans favoring the House version, H.R. 5371, which included specifically security enhancements, and Democrats pushing their alternative. So the alternative to H.R. 5371 is S 2882. Okay, so we'll figure out what that means. The high participation rate suggests most senators came, i.e., were present in the chamber or voted remotely if allowed, as budget votes are a high priority. Full roll call details, including every senator's vote, are publicly available on the Senate's website for transparency and accountability. If you would like a complete alphabetical list of every senator's vote, I would not, or details on other votes that day, e.g. amendments, let me know. I'll let you know what I need, baby. What I asked here, does the Senate consist of Republican, Democrats, and who? Okay, we already went over that. Then I said, what is this, right? Because they said the opposite or the opposing one is the S one, and we're going to look that up next, okay? H.R. 5371 is a bill in the 119th Congress, 25 to 26, titled 2025 to 2026, my apologies, titled the Continuing Appropriations and Extensions Act of 2026. It was introduced in the House of Representatives on September 16, 2025 by Rep. Tom Cole, ROK. That must be what he represents. The bill serves as a continuing resolution, CR. Oh, that's what CR means, guys. Continuing resolution to provide temporary funding for federal agencies at fiscal year 2025 levels through November 21, 2025, or until full year appropriations are enacted, aiming to prevent a government shutdown that began October 1st, 2025. It also includes additional funding for security protections and extensions for various programs in areas like health, Veterans Affairs, agriculture, homeland security, and more. So this specific bill, H.R. 5371, was voted down by looks like majority Democrats. So let's see why. The bill is organized into 5 divisions. Division A, Continuing Appropriations Act 2026. Appropriation funds at FY 2025. Rates for federal projects and activities with exceptions for flexibility, emergencies, and specific allocations. My apologies. Funds are available until November 21st, 2025. Notable provisions include additional $30 million in U.S. Marshal Service protective operations available until September 30th, 2027. $28 million in Supreme Court protection. $30 million in Capitol Police reimbursements. Adjustments for for the Department of Defense. $199.676 million for E7 wedge-tail prototyping. $200 million transfer for the same. $199.676 million for E7 wedge-tail prototyping. $200 million transfer for the same. What is that? I'm gonna let it cook for a second while we continue. Appropriations for wildfire suppression, Indian Health Service facilities. $72.2 $8.265 million for services and $8.05 million for facilities and disaster relief. Extensions for entitlements like WIC and majority payments. Prohibitions on new DoD projects or multiple year procurements without further appropriations. Division B, miscellaneous extensions. I don't like the word miscellaneous in a contract personally myself, but that's just me. Extends authorities such as the U.S. Grain Standards Act, the Department of Agriculture, Livestock, mandatory reporting. Defense Production Act of 1950. Cybersecurity programs under DHS, unmanned aircraft threat mitigation for DHS and DOJ, special assessments for sexual abuse / trafficking convictions, and Commodity Futures Trading Commission whistleblower program, all through November 21, 2025. So it says extends authorities. Okay. And then Division C, health extenders. Give me just a second. Let me get some water. Extends public health, Medicare, Medicaid, human services, and FDA programs. Examples include community health centers, diabetes programs and teaching health centers, Medicaid or Medicare low volume hospital payments, ambulance add-ons, and telehealth flexibilities through December 31st, 2026. Medicaid DSH allotments and improvements. FDA user fee amendments for over-the-counter drugs through FY 2030. No Surprises Act implementation funding. Division D, Department of Veterans Affairs extenders. Extends VA programs across healthcare benefits, housing, and other areas through November 21st, 2025 or 2026 for some. Title I, Healthcare Matters. Extends co-payments for preventive care, nursing home care for 70% service-connected disabled veterans. Staff Sergeant Parker Gordon Fox Suicide Prevention Grant Program and Rural Access Network for Growth Enhancement Funding. Title II, Benefits. Extends quarterly briefings on toxic exposure presumptions through December 31st, 2025. Educational assistance, restoration, contractor medical exam licensure, and Philippines Regional Office Authority. Title III, Housing. Extends grants for homeless women, veterans, and those with children. Authorization to 2026. Treatment for seriously mentally ill / homeless veterans support services funding. $92 million available until November 21st of 2025. Grants for special needs, $833,333 available until November 21, 2025. Specialty adapted housing assistance and assistive technology grants. Also improves the partial claim program with classifications on liens, defaults, and guidance. Requires GAO annual reports and assessments. Title that one. What am I number? Gosh darn it. I gotta stop saying that. I was right. That is 6. This is 17. 10. 5, 6, 7. Okay, I see how they're doing it there. It gets a little bit complicated though. And what's this one? GMP reports. IV. 4. Okay, so if the I comes before the V, it's not 5 yet. After the V in front, 5. I in front, 4. How? House 3. How come you do 1, 2, 3, 4? How come you just do 1, 2, 3, 4? Then this is 5. Is this subtraction? Because you got 5 with the I in front. So technically, if it's in front, you just minus it. So 1 minus 5 is 4. Is Is that how they calculated that? And then 5, and then after 5, everyone after is added, right? So did they do the same thing with the x? Look, ix. If you put the I in front, I minus 10. 1 minus 10 is 9. See? You gotta think. I gotta think about that. Okay, before is 4, 9, 10, 10, 11, 10, 11, 12, you know, so on and so forth. Then you even got the 5 over here. So you got 10. Ooh, I before V. 10 minus 1 plus 5. No, 10. This is 4 together. This is 10. So you got 10 plus 4. Because that's the only way that makes sense. Because 10 plus 1 minus 4. 1 minus 5. 10 plus 1 minus 5. Put these in parentheses. And you'll get, this will be 4 plus 10. You get what I'm saying? Because you do the parentheses first. Yeah. I'm glad we figured that out. Okay. Title 4. Other matters. Extends Inspector General subpoena authority transportation to VA facilities, vendor loan program, and real property transfer authority. Division E. Miscellaneous. Exempts budgetary effects of divisions B through D from pay-go scorecards and certain budget enforcement rules under the Statutory Pay-As-You-Go Act of 2025, Senate Rules, and the Balanced Budget of Emergency Deficient Control Act of 1985. Legislative history and status. House actions. Wait, why? For art thou? Hold on, let me think about this. Because I don't see. I gotta look into it a little heavier, maybe. Let's see. House actions introduced on September 16, 2025 and referred to the House Committees on Appropriations and Budget. Passed the House on September 19, 2025 by a vote of 217 to 212. Senate actions received in the Senate on September 19, 2025. Cloture motions to proceed failed multiple times due to partisan divisions, requiring 60 votes, 55 to 45 on September 30th, 54 to 44 on October 3rd, 52 to 42 on October 6th, 54 to 45 on October 8th, and 54 to 45 on October 9th. An additional cloture motion was filed on October 9th, but not voted on as of October 11th. But I thought they did vote on it. Current status. As of October 11th, the bill remains stalled in the Senate amid ongoing negotiations to resolve the government shutdown. It has no listed co-sponsors in one relatable bill, not specified in records. Okay. Now, what does this mean? So, we have to figure out what are the drawbacks here, because it's saying that it's extending these programs, it's not taking anything away as far as what this breakdown is concerned, but I don't see the drawbacks, I'm guessing. Like, I'm going to see why they're opposed to it. This phrase refers to specific funding adjustments in H.R. 5371. So what does this mean? Adjustments for dependent or defensive, e.g. million, because this did confuse me because I didn't know what this means. E7 wedge tail prototyping. Like, what is that? The continuing appropriations of the Extended Act of 2026 for the U.S. Department of Defense, or the DoD, particularly with Division A of the bill. Normally, a continuing resolution, or CR, like this, one funds government operations at the previous fiscal year's level without major changes. However, it can include anomalies. That's what they say? Anomalies! Anomalies, baby. That's what they say. or targeted adjustments to address urgent needs such as maintaining key programs. In this case, the adjustments ensure continued progress on the E7 Wedgetail program despite the temporary funding nature of the CR. Breakdown of the adjustments. So it did say something crazy. 199.676 million for E7 Wedgetail prototyping. This authorizes the DoD to apportion, i.e., allocate and release, up to that much from funds. So 199,676,000 from funds made available under the bill's general continuing appropriations for research, development, testing, and evaluation, Air Force. The money is specifically for continued rapid prototyping activities to keep E7 Wedgetail program on schedule and transition it toward full production. Without this adjustment, such targeted spending might not be allowed under the standard CR rules, which limits new or expanded activities. But why would you need that much money for that? Like, what are you doing? Continue rapid prototyping activities. Prototyping activities. I wish I knew what they was talking about. 200 million transferred to the same. This allows the transfer of 200 million in unobligated, unused funds from a prior appropriation under aircraft procurement, Air Force, in Public Law 119-4, which was an earlier FY 2025 funding bill, to the Research, Development, Test, and Evaluation Air Force account. Again, the purpose is solely for rapid prototyping to maintain the program's timeline and move it to production. Transfers like this are common in budget bills to repurpose existing funds without needing new appropriations. Okay, cool. These provisions are outlined in sections 123 and 124 of Division A, emphasizing that the funds are ring-fenced for the program only and cannot be used elsewhere. They reflect congressional priorities to avoid delays and critical defense subjects during budget impasses. What is the E-7 Wedgetail? The E-7 Wedgetail, also known as the Boeing 737, it's a plane? Is a two-engine military aircraft designed for airborne early warning and control. It's based on a modified Boeing 737-700 airliner and it features advanced radar systems like the multi-role electronically scanned array of MESA for detecting, tracking, and directing responses to airborne threats such as enemy aircraft and missiles over long distance. Originally developed for the Royal Australian Air Force, it's now being adopted by the U.S. Air Force as a replacement for the aging E-3 Sentry. Okay. Fleet to enhance situational awareness in modern warfare. The program is considered vital for U.S. national security, which is why it's receiving these specific funding protections in the bill. Very interesting. It's a plane. So they conducted a meeting that went into effect after they said that it was shut down, but it was legit because 99 of almost 100 Congress members were there. And once they said, I believe over so many members are there, I believe it was like 50, they can bring the House into some sort of quorum or a vote. But they did not put it on record though, which is something that we discovered. So what they're doing isn't illegal, it's just a little shady. You see what I'm saying? But again, it was voted down, so nothing actually passed to be afraid of necessarily. But we're going to see exactly what this is. The Continuing Appropriations and Extensions Act of 2026 has faced significant opposing primary from Senate Democrats, leading to repeated failures to advance in the Senate. Closer votes falling short of the required 60 votes, such as 54 to 45 on October 9, 2025, while House Republicans largely supported and passed the bill 217 to 212 on September 19th as a clean short. That's what he said too. A clean CR. A clean CR. Short-term continuing resolution CR to fund the government at FY 2025. And FY, I believe, is the fiscal year, right? Levels through November 21st of 2025 and avoid a shutdown. Democrats have blocked it over policy disagreements. One Republican Senator Rand Paul of, thinking that's Kentucky, has consistently opposed it, like due to fiscal conservatism concerns about continuing spending without reforms. Below, I'll outline the main reasons for opposing, drawing from both Democratic and broader perspectives, while noting Republican counter arguments for context. Primary reasons for opposing, mainly from Democrats. Democrats view the bill as insufficient and partisan, arguing it fails to address urgent priorities and will harm millions. Failure to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies. So it's not about what it was saying, it was about what it wasn't saying, guys. See, that's why you gotta continue to research. You gotta dig things. You gotta dig for things. Because I swear, I was reading all of the things. It was like, okay, it does this, it does that, it does this. It didn't say anything about like how the OBBB read, and it was taking away things and doing this and doing that. It was like extending this, extending that. So I'm like, okay, so what's wrong with it, So here we go. It's about what it didn't include, right? The bill does not extend enhanced premium tax credits. Enacted temporarily in 2021 via the American Rescue Plan and extended through 2025 by the Inflation Reduction Act, which are set to expire on December 31st, 2025. Without renewal, average premiums could rise 75 to 136% for about 21 to 22 million enrollees, making coverage unaffordable for many low and middle income families. An extra $500 monthly for some households. Democrats insist this must be included in or in any CR, calling the omission a healthcare funding exclusion that would spike costs and lead to millions losing coverage by 2030. Republicans countered that these subsidies were always temporary, passed via partisan reconciliation without GOP support, and that demanding their extension now is an unrelated ransom tactic holding the government hostage. Partisan nature and lack of bipartisanship. Critics, including groups like the Coalition of Human Needs, argue that the bill is House partisan CR that ignores Democratic input and prioritizes Republican references. Added security funding for officials like $30 million for U.S. Marshals and $28 million for Supreme Court protection, without concessions on health, Medicaid, or other extenders. Democrats pushed an alternative, which we discussed. We're gonna. I guess they're gonna give it to us now because I did say we was gonna discuss it. S 2882, which also failed 47 to 50 on October 9th, and call for negotiations rather than a take it or leave it approach. Republicans respond that Democrats are refusing to negotiate and dictating terms, emphasizing the bill's clean status aligns with prior bipartisan spend caps, 1.6 trillion, and avoids new policy riders. Potential harm to vulnerable groups. Without extensions, the bill could exacerbate issues like Medicaid cuts from prior laws or the e.g. OBBBA. I think that's the big beautiful bill. The one big beautiful bill, The One Big Beautiful Bill Act The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, guys, that's what they're referring to. Affecting rural areas, gig workers, veterans, and low-income families, Democrats highlight risks to Social Security, VA services, and federal workers during the ongoing shutdown. Now, in its second week as of October 11th, blaming Republicans for not compromising despite controlling all branches of government. Republicans argue the shutdown is Democrats' fault for blocking the bill, which would have ensured troop pay via clinics remain open and benefits continue. So, as he was saying, the reason that the Democrats won't accept the bill and pass it is because they are not adding the ACA to it. And he said, if I remember correctly, that the reason why they're doing that is because, and let me look at my notes, there is no, I wrote it down somewhere. He said that the reason why the Republicans refuse to add it back is because there's $200 billion used on healthcare services for illegal immigrants. And he said something else about there's so many taxes to illegal immigrants that's being wasted, right? If that's true, the Affordable Care Act is its own piece of legislation, right? Like, not legislation, but it's its own contract, right? Like, the Affordable Care Act, what I'm trying to say is, the Affordable Care Act has its own breakdown, right? So you see how I broke down the OBBA the other day? The Big Beautiful Bill? The Affordable Care Act has its own things, yes? So if he's saying that that one specific thing is the issue, why not add the Affordable Care Act and then omit that part that you have a problem with? Why take the whole thing out? Because that's going to make millions of people lose their insurance. And then not only are you taking the whole thing out, but you're not putting in another act. You're not putting in another affordable care anything. You're not putting in anything to replace it. So you're taking out the insurance of millions of people because you're saying that it's going to provide one group of people with medical care in hospitals. So you're going to screw the entire country because you don't want illegal immigrants to have any medical care, which is inhumane. It sounds inhumane. And not only that, but you're screwing America because you don't want one demographic of people to have health insurance, to have any assistance with health. It's not like they can't have health insurance, to have any assistance. But at the same time, right now, you're saying that you're going to get rid of all the illegal immigrants. Think about what I just said. Currently, right now, they're rounding up a bunch of people, saying they're going to get rid of them. They're deporting them. They're getting them out of here. I think they said that they have a plan to have all of them gone by like 2030, 2031 or something like that. But you are arguing that those same illegal immigrants that you're trying to get rid of by 2031 is the reason that you're not going to sign the Affordable Care Act into place, and that's why we're in a government shutdown. The people that's not even supposed to be here, according to your plans, you're holding up everybody's insurance, and you want to get rid of the entire country's insurance for one demographic of people that you're saying you're going to have gone by 2031. If they're going to be gone, why do you care? So are you saying that your plan isn't going to work? Or are you just using an excuse? Because it don't sound legitimate. Because if that's the problem, you could literally change that one part. Let's find out if you can. Maybe I'm wrong. I could have sworn I spelled that right. I added too many C's. That's me. Not right now. Moving forward, while that thinks. Procedural policy maneuvering. The bill requires 60 Senate votes to overcome filibusters, and Democrats, 43 to 45 nays in recent votes, have used this to block it, viewing it as a leverage for policy wins. Some independents, Angus King, i.e. ME, initially supported but may waver. Broader criticism includes the Trump administration's messaging blaming Democrats. In federal, which don't make sense, in federal out-of-office emails, which has sparked Hatch Act complaints. I wonder what Hatch Act is. Complaints for politicizing the shutdown. Republicans highlight that with only 53 seats, they need Democratic votes and accuse the opposition of sabotage. But, bro, perspective. Democrats. This is how the Democrats are seeing it. Opposed due to lack of ACA extensions and bipartisanship, see it as harmful to healthcare access. The example says supporters. We don't need all that, I don't think. The Republicans support as a responsible, clean CR to buy time for full appropriations, blame Democrats for shutdowns. Independents, mixed. Some supported initially but could shift. The standoff has prolonged the government shutdown starting October 1st, 2025, with both sides accusing the other of incompetence. Negotiations continue, but as of October 11th, no resolution has been reached. So, if the Democrats' whole thing, right, is that they oppose because of lack of ACA extensions, there's only two things you could do about that, right? Because they're not lying when they say that if you don't extend the Affordable Care Act, that millions, 10.3, I think the prediction was 10.3 to like 16 million people are going to lose their health insurance and have to pay for everything out of pocket no matter what. You could either alter the Affordable Care Act, which we're going to find out in a few moments if that's possible, or B, introduce your own Care Act. Because the Affordable Care Act was something that was written up and presented and passed, was it not? Yes, it was. So if you don't like it, write another one, right? So people can read it and vote on it. So why take it away? That's like the equivalent of a city going through and tearing down all of its public parks, but not replacing them. If that makes sense. Public parks are essential to communities. You go there, you have community things, you read. A lot of people have things like chessboards set up in like bigger cities, you could say. Like imagine if your city, wherever you are, everybody, even me, I have places I could drive. I took in my kids to the park. They swing on the swing, slide down the slides. Imagine if the government, or the cities rather, state by state, was like, we're going to take away all of the public parks, all of the community centers and everything like that. Public parks, what else? Community centers, what else? Programs, like after school programs and things. We're going to take away all of these things, but we're just going to destroy them, and we're not going to rebuild them, or we're not going to replace them, and we don't have any plans in the future to do so either. We just want y'all to be not without it. Does that make sense? It don't, do it? It don't. It don't make sense for you to take away something and not even try to alter it. You're not saying these for no reason. Because, oh, hold on. Here's the reason. Here's the reason. Because I don't want Mexicans to use it. I don't want illegal immigrants. I don't want illegal Mexicans to be able to have access to these parks. Because I drove through my neighborhood and I saw illegal immigrants with their kids playing in the parks. My assumption, illegal immigrants playing in these parks and in these community centers. They was up there hooping, playing basketball. Were they causing problems? No, I just saw them participating. And because I saw these illegal immigrants participating with our parks and our community centers, they shouldn't be able to do that. I'm going to take it away from everybody. So the whole fucking neighborhood, sorry, excuse me, YouTube, the whole freaking neighborhood and everybody in the whole city that's utilizing this thing is all going to be ASOL because I don't want illegal immigrants to use it. That's what you sound like. Right now, that's what you sound like. It's rubbing me the wrong way, too. Let's find out about this Affordable Care Act here. Can the Affordable Care Act be changed or adjusted at all in order to make it more agreeable to both Democrats and Republicans is my question. So, my thing is, it's not set in stone. That's my assumption. Yes, the Affordable Care Act can be changed or adjusted to make it more agreeable to both Democrats and Republicans. Through doing so requires significant bipartisan cooperation, which has been historically difficult but not impossible. So, they're telling us that the reason why they want to not get the Affordable Care Act back, as we just saw in the video, it came out of his own self-mouth, saying that there's $1.5 trillion on this wish list. They're giving $200 billion in healthcare services to illegal immigrants, right? Cool. Let's just say, theoretically, we hear y'all out. Let's just say, theoretically, this is true. Let's just say it's true. Let's just all live in this world where $200 billion goes to illegal immigrants and healthcare services, right? Let's all take a journey, okay? If this is part of the Affordable Care Act, you can literally take it out. Poof. Problem solved. Maybe. Okay, here we go. Here's something else that could be happening. Have they attempted to do so? Let's see. Areas of potential bipartisan agreement. Both parties have shown interest in reforms to target lowering healthcare costs for consumer, governments, and employees. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, okay. So, we found out that you can do this, right? So, my next question here, I'm not going to even read all this stuff because I need to know if the Republicans are saying, how do I form it? If I got it. I know how to ask this. So, my next question. In this specific bill, the one that they discussed on the 9th that was rejected, in this bill, they did not add the ACA. And the argument was because of funding going to illegal immigrants. We already talked about that. We already know that's not accurate, but we're going to figure out what the hell he was talking about in his little speech there. Because maybe I missed something and I'm just a retard. That's a bad word. Don't say that. Sorry. I apologize. Okay, so if that's the case, right? So in HR 5371, they did not add the ACA, which is the Affordable Care Act, and the argument was by Republicans by Republicans, and the argument by Republicans was funding to illegal immigrants. Let's not put it all on the Republicans. Let's be general. Let's be open and general. So, have either side, it's not conducted and it's not wrote up. Have either side not addressed it, because that would imply like a verbal discussion. I want to know if anybody has drawn up a new ACA. How do you say that? How do you say, have either side I'll say presented a new ACA with adjustments to not assist illegal immigrants. I just want this to be noted that every human being on the planet deserves health care in a freaking hospital. Even the simple fact that you're saying that there is a allotted amount, I don't care how freaking little or large it is, going to a demographic of people, and you want them to die pretty much by not being able to have any assistance. You want this demographic of people to get stabbed, shot, have a heart attack, have a stroke, have freaking diabetes, and go to a hospital and be turned away. That's disgusting. And you are disgusting if you feel that way. Every person, every human being, every single, no matter where you're from, deserves some sort of treatment. That's disgusting. So let's just see. This is historically, I want to know if they have presented a new ACA with adjustments to not assist illegal immigrants. Neither party has introduced a new Affordable Care Act proposal that would explicitly expand federal health benefits to undocumented immigrants following the recent arguments around HR 5371. In fact, multiple recent laws and proposals, including the 2025 Working Families Tax Cut Act, or the WFTCA, under President Trump, have further restricted eligibility, making federal health care coverage even less accessible to both undocumented and certain lawfully present immigrants. The current Republican position. Republicans have used the argument that the Democratic ACA and Medicare proposals would extend federal benefits for illegal immigrants, but this is misleading. Current law already excludes undocumented immigrants from federally funded coverage. We've talked about this before. Republic policies and WFCTA now law further restrict ACA and Medicaid eligibility for even some legally present immigrants, such as those with DACA, certain work visas, or waiting for asylum adjudication. My apologies. The party was not presented a new ACA proposal that includes coverage for undocumented immigrants, but has acted to exclude as many non-citizens as legally possible, even some with legal presence. The Democratic position and proposals. Democrats have proposed restoring ACA and Medicaid eligibility for certain lawfully present immigrants, including DACA recipients, refugees without green cards, and TPS holders who had coverage stripped away by recent Republican-led laws. Disgusting. No mainstream Democratic proposal would grant ACA or Medicaid benefits to undocumented immigrants residing in the U.S. illegally. These adjustments are sometimes argued by Republicans as benefits for illegal immigrants, but legally, the changes only benefit people recognized by the federal government as lawfully present, not those living in the country without any legal status. So they just blatantly fucking lying. Literally, they didn't say it like that. Sorry, YouTube. They didn't say that, but they just said that. They lying. So they're telling you one thing. They're saying, oh, they want to make these adjustments for illegal immigrants. Well, let me tell you something. Words have meanings. Words have definitions. Illegal immigrants is a fully freaking different thing than somebody who is lawfully present, because we have dictionaries, people. These politicians know what they're saying. They're not stupid. They're not razor up here googling what the fuck numeral fucking words mean. What is a Roman numeral? They're intelligent to know what they're saying. This stuff that I'm reading, that I'm like, okay, I'm googling. What does this mean? What's a pro fucking What did I say earlier? What's pro forma meetings and stuff like that? I have to Google that stuff because I am not familiar with politics. I am not familiar. I haven't been doing this stuff for years. I'm only just now getting into it because of what's going on in our government. They know what they're saying. When they say this is assisting illegal immigrants, they fully know that they're lying. That's how lies work. When I say this illegal immigrant is going to help illegal immigrants, but I full-blown know that there is, literally, it's already in effect, that there is, before Trump even got in office, illegal immigrants with no green card, no work visa, no nothing, cannot be legally represented or assisted by the government. There is no food stamps, no SNAP, no Section 8 for somebody who's not here legally off top. Not only that, but they've recently put new fucking stuff in place to even make it more difficult. When did they say they put that in place? Where's my damn question? Hold on. Did I lose my question? Okay. This is it, right? Okay, yeah, this is it. They said, here it is. The WFTCA now law further restricts ACA and Medicaid eligibility for even some legally present immigrants, such as those with DACA, certain work visas, or waiting for asylum adjudication. Okay? So not only it's off top, they cannot get assistance from us, right? From the government anyway. But now they've put in this WFTCA, which makes it even harder for even legally here people that's immigrants, that's coming from other places, that's not U.S. born, to get assistance, to get insurance, to get health. So they just hate these people. Moving on. Democrats have proposed restoring ACA and Medicaid eligibility for certain lawfully present immigrants. Okay, we just read that, right? Including DACA recipients, refugees without green cards, and TPS holders who had coverage stripped away by recent Republican-led laws, which is disgusting. No mainstream Democrat proposal would grant ACA or Medicaid benefits to undocumented immigrants residing in the U.S. legally. No mainstream, I'm sorry, hold on, let me wrap my brain around that. No mainstream Democratic proposal would grant ACA or Medicaid benefits to undocumented immigrants residing in the U.S. legally. So, that can't be right. He just said $1.5 trillion, no. $200 billion being used on healthcare services for illegal that just came out of his mouth. No, this is saying no. It's perplexity. Hold on. We're gonna cross and find out. It says no mainstream Democratic proposal would grant ACA or Medicaid benefits to undocumented immigrants residing here in the U.S. legally. These adjustments are sometimes argued by Republicans as benefits for illegal immigrants, but legally the changes only benefit people recognized by the federal government as lawfully present. That's what I was looking for earlier. Not those living in the country without legal status. Does that not sound crazy to you? That this is saying that there's no Democratic proposal right now, but he just said out of his mouth just a few freaking YouTube days ago. They said on the 7th? It's the 11th. What is he talking about? Hold on. 200 billion. What's his name? The House of Representatives. What's his name? Damn. I'm just gonna call him the House of Representatives because I don't fucking know his name. The Speaker. So I did not skew. The Speaker of the House of Representatives stated on October 7th that $200 billion, with a B baby, dollars was going toward funding healthcare for illegal immigrants. That just came out of his mouth. Can you explain what he was referring to? I did not ask if he was telling the truth. I didn't ask is he lying. I don't want it to be skewed. I literally want to know what he's referring to because he has to be making a correlation to something. Even the best Republicans, politicians in general, politicians and lawyers do this, right? They take a drop of truth, bloop, and then they just get that little truth as the nucleus and surround it with a bunch of bull. Lawyers do it all the time. Politicians do it all the time. So my assumption is that he's taking $200 billion and maybe it's referring to other things, like how they said benefits for illegal immigrants, but there's no actual precedent for that. Everything that's in place is for lawfully present people. They're just skewing the truth because they do technically have immigrants in the clause, but it's for lawful immigrants, not illegal immigrants. So they're taking the truth, which is they do have immigrants, ACA, in the cause. They're taking this little tiny truth as the nucleus and surrounding it by a bunch of illegal garbage. Does that make sense? So my guess is that this is referring to something because he's not just blowing wind out of his ass. So let's find out. Speaker Mike Johnson, that's his name, that's true, claimed on October 7th that $200 billion is going toward health care for illegal immigrants refers to Republican arguments that the Democratic government funding proposal would roll back restrictions enacted under the Working Families Tax Cut Act. That's what they're referring to, the WFTCA, and the One Big Beautiful Bill. These Republican-led 2025 laws recently tightened eligibility for federally funded health care coverage, Medicaid, ACA subsidies, to further exclude not just undocumented immigrants, but also categories of lawfully present immigrants. The truthful nucleus, surrounded by a bunch of motherfucking bull stuff. Sorry, YouTube. Johnson and GOP leadership argue that repealing these restrictions, as Democrats proposed, would restore. Why is that in quotes? Johnson and GOP leadership argue that repealing these restrictions, as Democrats proposed, would restore up to $200 billion in federal health care spending to illegal immigrants and other non-citizens over a decade. This figure is not based on actual benefits currently accessible to undocumented immigrants who remain ineligible for Medicaid and ACA subsidies under both current law and Democratic proposal. Fact checks for nonpartisan organizations and independent media confirm the $200 billion figure represents a projected cost over 10 years if Democratic proposals to reverse recent cuts are adopted. But this spending is primarily for restoring coverage for lawfully present immigrants who lost eligibility, such as DACA recipients, certain work visa holders, and those waiting asylum, not for undocumented immigrants. Undocumented immigrants remain barred from federal health coverage. We talked about this programs. The Democratic proposal would not grant them new eligibility, but Republicans use this illegal immigrant health care framing for political advantage. So they just lying, guys. They're literally lying. I'm gonna stop yelling at y'all. Oh my God. The minor exception is emergency Medicaid, which reimburses hospitals for providing emergency care regardless of immigration status. This accounts for only this is that 0.4% that I was referring to earlier. This accounts for only a very small portion of total spending and is not new to the proposed legislation. Okay? In summary, Johnson's $200 billion claim overstates and mischaracterizes what am I saying? Mischaracterizes. This overstates and mischaracterizes. Ooh, that's a mouthful. I love that word. This overstates and mischaracterizes the policy. The debate is about rolling back recent restrictions that affected lawfully present immigrants, not expanding federal health coverage for undocumented immigrants. So this man just sat up here in front of America, in front of all of those reporters, and lied. Flat out. About a bunch of bull stuff, a bunch of stuff that they calculated together that don't make no sense, that's not for illegal immigrants. I got a feeling that when I look up the 1.2 billion per month GDP and all this other facts that he's talking about, I got a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be a little bit of this in everything. Guys, this is what's the word? I guess the best word is scary. And you know what? there are probably thousands of people that saw him say that and said, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing $200 billion to illegal immigrants, without even thinking about looking up what he's talking about. They're just taking it at his word. And technically, I hate to be that person, but I can pretty much play the devil's advocate with everything in life, right? On one hand, yes, as an adult, as a competent adult, no matter who it is that's telling you something, no matter if it's a politician, your lawyer, your mother, your fucking freaking family member, your doctor, no matter who it is, when they tell you a piece of information, you are, as an adult, if it don't check here, you're just supposed to just look into it. You are, just in general. You're just supposed to look into it. But on the other hand, I want to be able to trust my leadership. If I go to the doctor and they tell me I have cancer because I'm feeling this way, I want to be able to say, oh my God, I can't believe I have cancer. I don't want to have to go and get a second, third, fourth opinion, go and figure out what kind of test they do for this kind of thing. Is these results fine? Like, go to the doctor and say, hey, can you give me my results so I can go compare them to the information that I don't want to have to do that. If I get into some legal trouble and my lawyer says, hey, you either pay $200,000 in fines or you have to go to jail for 3 years, I want to be able to process that and be like, my God, what am I going to do? Am I going to pay $200,000 or am I going to go to jail for 3 years? I do not want to have to say, okay, for my specific thing that I got in trouble for, let me see, what are the circumstances for this? My lawyer told me this. Is this true? Could I get out in this way? Could I get out in that way? I don't want to have to do that. They're both true. Both of the things are true. You do supposed to look into it, but at the same time, I don't want to have to. I want to be able to look at this politician, my governor, my House of representative, my president. I want to be able to look at them, listen to them, and say, damn, that's crazy. This person is telling me the truth. I can just take what they say. I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to say, hey, this person said $200 billion is going to illegal immigrants. Is this true? I shouldn't have to. I should be able to trust you. I should be able to hear you say some crazy stuff like $200 billion is going to illegal immigrants in healthcare and be able to be like, why is that happening? I'm trying to think. I want to... I just don't know. I can put out the information, but how can a person sit up there and just be telling such terrible lies and nobody's fact checking this man? Nobody has told him, hey, you said this on October 7th and I just so happened to look it up and Google it, and what you're saying I could show you that it's wrong. How is it possible that no... I don't understand how this is possible. I just don't. Because I swear, this is extremely sad. And we have to stay aware of what's going on around us right now. Never in my life have I ever really, like, just sat up and thought about, or you know what it feels like? It feels like even knowing isn't enough these days, right? Because we have people that break the news and stuff every day about the things that are pretty much illegal, borderline illegal, or flat out lies, or whatever that the government is currently doing. And it does feel like we are doomed, you know? Like, all of our political leaders, almost the ones that are in charge, are targeting black people and people of color, and like, America was founded on racism when they came and did the what do they call it, the big push or whatever, when the Europeans were invading and pushing all the Native Americans out and putting them in camps and this, that, and the other. And then we did Jim Crow, and we had all these and we had to fight so hard just to not be hung up in the streets, you know. We had to fight for segregation. We had to fight, or not for, to go against segregation. We had to fight for all of this stuff. And like, I just don't get how people are so I just, you know, it comes to a point where, like, you think, like, how can people be this way? How can people want a whole group of people, like Hispanic people, to suffer this way, right? Because I can sit here and look up the facts and everything, but if you think about it just for too long, all of these laws and things that they are doing, there are thousands of people right now that are stacked up and that are being misplaced, that are being tortured, that are being, you know, they are being starved, and they're putting them in work camps, you know, like, and I'm just trying to survive every day, and I just want this information to be put out there, because how can you go by day and not do anything? I have 3 children, so I literally cannot put myself at risk and go out and protest in the streets, because as soon as they see a person of color, things get violent. And this has been proven. If you don't believe me, go look it up. If white people go out and protest, things don't go crazy. As soon as people of color go out and protest, things get crazy. The literal only reason why they are trying to do all of these military tactics right now is because allegedly he wants martial law. He wants to be able to shut everything down, allegedly. That's the only reason. It's because of it's this administration's doing. It would have been worse if people of color got out on the streets. It would have been so much worse. They would have been doing this stuff. And if you could go through every single day and not do anything, this is the only way I could participate, is by putting out the correct information, because that is also extremely important. You see what I'm saying? How I was so offended that I literally just heard for something this important that happened 2 days ago. Like, everybody has their lives, right? Everybody does. Everybody has their own life. And there's so many people out there that are struggling right now. And I feel like if you are capable of doing anything at all, even if it's just putting the information out there, you don't have to physically do anything. If you're not financially stable enough to do any donations and things like that, then something like this is the best that I can do. But I can't sit back and just try to survive and live my life without doing something. But it's hard because I really, like, I have so much love and so much heart for everybody, even people that hate me and they don't like me at this stage of my life. I even have a way of dealing with that. But it's something else when I look at the evil and the ugly in the face and going down these rabbit holes with people that are our leaders and people that are in, like, police officers, and like so much information I've discovered about our history that I was just not, it's not that I was ignoring it, but I was just not trying, because it breaks me so much. Like, why would he go in front of people and lie like this? Because it makes it worse for Hispanic people when you tell these lies. You know how many lies these people is telling that other people are just taking, and they're taking it to heart, and they're using it as fuel for their hate, and then they go out and they freaking see a Hispanic person on in a park, on a bench, at the whatever, and they're just like, this person's taking my money, my tax money, and I'm gonna be rude to this person because this person is just existing. Because that Johnson first person told me they taking 200 fucking billion out of a taxpayer's dollars, and people are offended by that. People are broke. You don't think they're gonna be upset about thinking that somebody else, another demographic, is taking their money? People are killing us. They're hanging us. They're making us disappear. And this man has the audacity to fuel it with lies. Blatant, terrible, outlet 200 billion? Outlandish lies. And he's sleeping fine right now. What time is it? It's 11. 11, what time? 11:45 my time. I bet you his ass is in bed sleeping right fucking now. No worries in the world. Then told all of America lie on lie, exaggeration on exaggeration on top of a lie that's kind of nicked and tucked into another fucking exaggeration, and he's fine. I will continue to find the truth. I will continue to put this out there. Because nobody deserves to be treated the way that they're treating these people. Zip tying them, carrying them off. I stayed in a holding cell one night over my own problems. And my life has been changed since then. Imagine being stripped away from your life tomorrow for no reason. And now you don't know where you are, surrounded by people that hate you, zip-tied, handcuffed, beat, starved, for no reason other than the color of your skin and who you are. They've even gotten American citizens. They I don't get it. How can racism really? Okay. We'll keep discovering the truth, guys. We'll keep discovering the truth. We'll find it. Okay, I'm gonna end this session right here. I need y'all to be aware of what's going on around you now more than ever. I'm going to do a better job. Obviously, I need to be better and do a better job because it's been 2 days since this happened and I just caught it. I'm going to be better. I'm going to do better because this needs to be everywhere. Everybody needs to be talking about it in mainstream social media. Like, you know, who we're supposed to rely on is not doing it. I don't know. I haven't gotten to the bottom of why people say that they're bought out or something or da. I personally haven't looked into it, so I won't tell you a lie. I won't tell you something that I don't know 100% of. I don't know why they don't talk about these things. I don't know why people hate other people so much for no reason. But I do know that I can't. And I won't. And I won't allow them to get away with it. I have no authority. I have nothing that I can do. But I can tell you the truth. And that is something that I am dedicated to do. I want to find the false. I want to find the truth. Because this is all I can do. I have a computer and internet and sufficient not property but sufficient equipment to do so. I'm gonna do it. Because I can't sit back and let this happen. It's heart-wrenchingly sad. And we probably got here because more people like me were too quiet, and I was too quiet. And I was just like, when the votes were going on, I was just like, okay, well, you know, I had a lot of faith for some reason that things were gonna work out, really and truly. I was like, there's no way, because I went from, there's no way that they would vote somebody like that into office to, oh, there's no way that they would keep somebody like that into office, and to, there's no way that they would vote him into again. They see what happened the first time, and here we are. So I refuse to sit back anymore and just be like, there's just no way that the law would be this way. There's no way that somebody that is in charge of hundreds of thousands of people would just be like, you know, what do you call this type of person? I thought that there was no way, and I was wrong. I was wrong. If we have a allegedly fascist, allegedly authoritative president of the United States who have been actually convicted of 34 felonies and has been convicted of SA or allegedly supposed to be doing this, and he's the president of the United States. Then I have no faith in nobody. Not anymore. This whole experience has forever changed my viewpoint. I can't put nothing past nobody. I just found out Taylor Swift is racist. There's nothing else for me to fucking put faith in. Honestly. There's so much stuff that's coming out. I've lost so much so much faith in our government, so much faith in these people. Like, I can't even fathom how I didn't know. Taylor Swift? Come on, guys. Come on, come on, come on. I'm gonna try to maybe put something together, some sort of points, like PowerPoint like deal. I'm not sure how I'll do it, but I'll figure something out maybe, and I'll try to, or either conduct this video or edit this video for a later release to like kind of get more to the points. I appreciate you guys being here with me. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Okay, until then, stay aware and be safe. And if you can, please try to spread love, because you don't know who needs it. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night, Colony.